There is this general idea in game development that if you don't get a publisher, your game won't be successful. But the truth is that today, there are more ways to reach players than ever before. Self-publishing is no longer the route you take when a publisher says no. It is a real and viable alternative for many of those looking to release their game into the market. Hi everyone, welcome to another video of Life About Games. As usual, my name is Alex, and today I'll be breaking down what it really means to choose between finding a publishing deal or releasing the game yourself. We'll go through some of the pros and cons, as well as when should a studio consider one option or the other. There's a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, I think it's important to note that there is no such thing as a standard publisher. Each one has a different strategy, a different genre focus, a different risk tolerance, and even different capabilities. At a high level, publishers usually combine funding and services in exchange for a share of a game's future revenue. That funding can take many forms. It could be an upfront payment, or payments tied to a specific milestone, like reaching an alpha or beta release. It could also be a dedicated marketing budget, or sometimes something as simple as office space. On top of that, publishers provide a wide array of services, which can go from porting, quality assurance, and localization to things like PR and community management, just to name a few. But now here is the important part. If you ask a publisher for services, you will be paying a premium. After all, they're a business. It will probably be cheaper if you do things yourself, so be prepared to pay that extra. Also, try to be very sure where you're going to need help. When negotiating, avoid vague terms like marketing support. Be specific, ask questions. Try to understand, for example, how many campaigns are included, in which territories, what other tasks are involved, and so on. One of the main reasons publishers exist is risk. Games require a lot of money to get made, even more to get noticed. And even then, there is no guarantee of success. Publishers absorb part of the risk in exchange for a future upside. But it is important to understand what that actually means. Publishing today is more risk-averse than it used to be. It is harder to get signed, and publishers are under pressure to justify every investment they make. That is why, to get a publishing deal, you need to reduce perceived risk. Your game needs to look like a good, if not great, investment. And this is also where concepts like Recoup come in. In many publishing deals, the publisher will recover its investment before any revenue is shared with the developer. In other words, the publisher may take 100% of the revenue until it fully recovers the amount of money invested. This is not necessarily bad, but it does have consequences. Recoups are sales dependent, and if they take longer than expected, then they can make funding a second game or even keeping the lights on extremely hard. Revenue shares can be structured in many different ways, and if studios aren't careful, there is a serious risk of not understanding when money will start flowing back and under what conditions. On this point, an honest word of advice. Get a lawyer. Always. The money you think you are saving now can cost you dearly in the future. And now let's talk about the other side of the spectrum. Self-publishing. And this is where I want to be very careful so as to not romanticize what it means to go independent. With self-publishing, you are taking complete responsibility. Whether the game succeeds or fails, that's on you. The upside is obvious. Creative freedom, flexible deadlines, you can keep or invest all of the profit. And you learn how to do everything end to end. Skills you pick up while self-publishing can be capitalized into future projects. Marketing, community building, production, launch execution. These are not one-offs. But there is also no escaping reality. Games require money, the market is oversaturated, and visibility is not optional. As we discussed before in one of my previous videos, in today's market, discoverability is often the hardest problem to solve, not development itself. A good marketing budget can dramatically change outcomes. And when you self-publish, that budget comes from your own pocket, your own time, and your own energy. So you see, in a way, self-publishing is not about saving money. It's about choosing where you invest it. There is a question I think studios ask far too late, which is, what do you actually want a publisher for? Is it money, marketing, experience, validation, all of the above? Because if you are simply looking for money, crowdfunding platforms like Patreon or Kickstarter, or even government grants, can sometimes be cheaper options. If you are asking a publisher for services, remember that they come at a premium. If you are looking for experience, especially when releasing across multiple platforms, then a publisher can genuinely act as a multiplier. And yes, some publishers really do act as partners. They care about your game. They bring creativity and enthusiasm. They offer brutal honesty. They give your game a stage and a spotlight. But those partnerships still come with trade-offs. Deadlines, milestones, sometimes influence over features, scope, or monetization. And those costs need to be taken into account. Another way to look at this decision is through the lens of a studio's life cycle. A studio taking its first steps is very different from a more mature one, but the choice between a publisher or self-publishing never disappears. In early stages, survival and structure matter a lot. One might choose a publisher because it can reduce risk and provide guidance when everything is new. It's what we talked about already. You can get help with funding, production, testing, certification, marketing, and so on. But one might also consider self-publishing, to build those capabilities internally from day one, to retain full ownership. It is riskier, yes. The investment at first might be higher, and you will certainly make mistakes as part of the learning process. But that experience builds up. Now, as the studio matures, the reasonings behind choosing a publisher or self-publishing are different. You now have the know-how. You understand production cycles. You have built an audience. And so self-publishing becomes less intimidating, because the capability is already there. But a publisher can still make sense, especially if you're looking to scale, to enter new territories, to accelerate marketing, to launch in multiple platforms simultaneously. In other words, to move faster than your internal resources allow. The truth is that this is not a debate about whether publishers are better than self-publishing or the other way around. They both serve their purposes, and as everything in life, require trade-offs. The most important part is to make sure that whatever decision you make, it fits your game, the stage that it's at, and your long-term goals. Instead of asking, should I get a publisher? Ask yourself, what is the problem I am actually trying to solve? And the answer will usually point you in the right direction. If you're a developer watching this, I would love to hear where you are right now. Are you considering a publisher, committed to self-publishing, or somewhere in between? Let me know down in the comments. And as usual, if you like the content that I'm putting out, please consider subscribing to this channel too, as it really helps it grow and reach more developers who are currently navigating these topics and trying to make decisions thoughtfully. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay happy and keep gaming.